Now, we're going to talk about Dream Theater. All right, we're going to do some music talk here, okay, guys? And give you my past with Dream Theater. But to front load it, I'll tell you right now, Mike Portnoy is back in the band after 14 years. 14 years ago, he left the band. The story behind why he left the band was because they were pretty much putting out an album one year, touring the next year. Putting out an album one year, touring the next year. Rinse and repeat, just over and over. And he was getting burnout. And I think he just wanted to try some different things, you know. By that time, they had already been together for, I want to say 20, 25 years. So he had been in the band a long time by the time he left. And the weird thing is, Dream Theater, usually bands after 25 years, they start declining. But Dream Theater has one of the weirdest trajectories because they started off kind of strong. They garnered a cult following back in like the early 90s. And then they just gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But not like, you know, like a meteoric rise. You know, it was always just kind of a gradual thing. You know, they never like went, I guess, quote unquote, viral, like you would say today. They always maintained a loyal cult fan base. And that's just because it's progressive rock. They were probably one of the most successful progressive rock groups because they brought it to the mainstream. Pretty much, at least the mainstream rock music. Now, my backstory with Dream Theater was when I first came in the military, my first base was in Colorado. And, you know, I was into, you know, your normal rock music from the 80s, you know. I mean, I like a lot of deep cut type stuff. But, yeah, I was into, you know, Metallica, Megadeth. Even Motley Crue, Rat, stuff like that. But I remember this was about the time Nirvana kicked off. And the strange thing is that when Nirvana kicked off, a lot of bands, not all bands, and we did a discussion on this a while back, but a lot of bands were completely just discarded after. You know, you're pretty much out of style now. You got to go. Most of those hair metal bands. This was when Dream Theater first really started, and they definitely had a look similar to a lot of those, what you would call, I guess, kind of hair metal. Although I think hair metal went through a different phase. It looked a certain way in the mid 80s, and I think even hair metal started kind of stripping down the look in the late 80s. And they blended, you know, they were wearing jeans more and t-shirts. They were blending in a little bit better. And if you look at bands like Rat, when they put out like Detonator, right? Detonator didn't have the same look and sound that they did when they put out like Out of the Cellar. So Dream Theater kind of fit in with a lot of those bands. And even the sound was a little similar. Dream Theater were progressive. And they were extremely talented. And I went and saw them because let me back up. They had a hit, like a mild hit single called Pull Me Under. And Pull Me Under was like everybody loved it in Colorado on the radio. It just became this, and MTV was playing the video. So they had a big hit with Pull Me Under off of Images and Words. And that kind of, I wouldn't say catapulted, but it gave them a music career. You know, they were able to constantly put out albums, and more importantly, they garnered this fan base, this rabid almost fan base. Because when I first heard Pull Me Under, I was instantly a Dream Theater fan. I absolutely loved their sound. It was extremely refreshing. I wasn't the biggest progressive metal fan at the time. I wasn't really into, I guess you could say like Iron Maiden and Rush. I've come to appreciate those bands now throughout the years. And I think that's because Dream Theater opened that door for me, you know? So I was obsessed with Dream Theater for pretty much that whole run while Mike Portnoy was there. Mike Portnoy was such a massive influence on my drumming. I take drums pretty seriously. I've been in like 3 bands myself throughout the years while I was in the military. And when I heard the way Mike Portnoy played the drums, it affected me. and it inspired me to really kind of up my game. And I was playing along with his music, and I don't know, his playing style was just so much more advanced than the other stuff that I was playing. But it was catchy. And, like we hear drumming sometimes, and it just sounds kind of like a drum machine. And there's not anything there to just grab you. And because I think if something grabs you and it's infectious, to me that makes it easier to learn because you want to learn it more, right? It doesn't it's fun learning it. So when I was practicing Dream Theater music, I was having a blast. And because I was having so much fun, I was starting to pick it up. So I followed Dream Theater pretty much his whole run. And when he left Dream Theater back in 2009, it kind of shocked the rock world. A lot of people, they had pretty much established a reputation at that time. They were respected as musicians. And so Mike Portnoy was a major part of the writing. Him and John Petrucci, the guitarist, they both wrote a good amount of the music. And so when he left, they got in this other guy, Mike Mangini, super talented drummer, but he's pretty much like a drum machine, If you compare his drumming to Mike Portnoy's, and this is my opinion, his playing sounds more almost like a computer playing. He can play anything. He's like super freaking fast. I think he even has like a Guinness Book of World Records for like the fastest roll on one hand. It's insane. So Mike Mangini is, they got the greatest drummer in the world to replace the greatest drummer in the world, pretty much. But then Mike Portnoy over the last couple of years kind of rekindled, because there was definitely some bad blood there for a little bit. But over the last couple of years, he kind of rekindled his relationships with the other members of Dream Theater. But I never in my wildest dreams thought, that Mike Portnoy would join the band again. And sure enough, just this couple days ago on Wednesday, he posted this picture on Instagram, and it's official now. He's back with Dream Theater. And, I was like a kid in a candy store. That's like a Christmas gift. I couldn't believe that. So I just think that first piece of music that is put out by Dream Theater with Mike Portnoy again is going to set the freaking internet on fire. The rock community on fire. I'll tell you right now. Ty Lee, yes, I was going to mention that too. Right after, he left Dream Theater right around the time that the Rev, the drummer for Avenged Sevenfold, died. One of the Rev's favorite drummers was Mike Portnoy. And the guys from Avenged Sevenfold, they reached out to Mike Portnoy. They had already had the music written, the drum parts written, so he didn't have to come in and write anything. But the album Nightmare, Mike Portnoy plays all the drums on that album. They had him come in, and he even did a tour with Avenged Sevenfold to support that album. So it was just kind of a one album, one tour type thing. I think Mike Portnoy might have been seduced to stay with Avenged Sevenfold if asked, but the reason they didn't is because he's Mike Portnoy. They didn't want a drummer that's like almost bigger than the band themselves, They wanted somebody that was just a no-name. So then they ended up getting, they went through a couple drummers after Mike Portnoy. Really, really, really awesome to have Mike Portnoy back in the fold of Dream Theater. I would urge you guys to go and listen to, they got a lot of albums out, but I'd say listen to Pull Me Under. Really, really great introduction to the band. Listen to Panic Attack. Panic Attack was actually on Guitar Hero, and when everybody was doing Guitar Hero. They've had a few songs, I think, on Guitar Hero, but it's just it's almost like a super group of musicians, like every musician, John Petrucci, one of the greatest guitarists ever, Mike Portnoy, one of the greatest drummers, John Myung, one of the greatest bassists out there, James LaBrie has a great voice, and Jordan Rudess, the keyboardist, everybody's just like super integral. But it's nice having Mike Portnoy back because now they can have another songwriter in the fold, and he wasn't just any songwriter. He had a whole they called it like the Alcoholics Anonymous suite because he went through AA. So he wrote like a whole album's worth of material about his experience. And it's genius. What they did was they, say it was like 5 songs worth and 5 Dream Theater songs are about 10 minutes each. So what he did was, over the course of 5 albums, they put 1 song on each album. You know, so it's kind of cool because after it was all said and done, you could make your own playlist of the Alcoholics Anonymous suite. And what's cool about it is every song, they all kind of bleed into each other. They have, you know, you'll see moments from one song. What's the word I'm looking for? Re-enter itself. Re-enter itself. What the fuck am I talking about? Represent itself later in another song. You know, one of those types. So, yeah, they're just one of the most creative musicians I've ever seen. I stopped following them after Mike Portnoy left. That's how much it affected me. And I just didn't really bother too much with the Mike Mangini albums. Yeah, and I'm sure there's some good stuff on there. I've heard some of it, but nothing beats the Mike Portnoy era of Dream Theater. So I urge you guys to, if you like rock music, yeah, definitely look it up. Great stuff. Okay, Dream Theater. And you know what? I got to freaking make a Dream Theater clip. That's awesome. Because Dream Theater, my 2 favorite bands for a long time were Tool and Dream Theater. Kiss has always been there too. But as far as like heavy rock, it was Kiss and Dream Theater for a good 25 years. And then as soon as Mike Portnoy left the band, I kind of left Dream Theater and I didn't even bother with them that much anymore. So now I think I'm back on Dream Theater. As a matter of fact, over the last couple of days since this announcement on Spotify, I've just been listening to like a ton of Dream Theater again, going back and listening to that stuff. So, yeah. What's up, guys? You are at the end of the DD Live clip. What I do is I like to clip these out if I think the topic is important or something that's newsworthy. So thank you for watching. And if you want to watch more, you can go over here. You can go over here, click on one of those. And yeah, hopefully I can do this for 20 seconds, which I think I did. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching, guys.